Welcome back to Rush Field, your stop for the greatest sport on earth. It's college football. Today we're going to be talking about coaches in the hot seat going into this 2026 year. Let's get right into it. There are a few coaches in the SEC that are in that hot seat tier. Today we are going to talk about Shane Beamer in South Carolina. When you talk about a coach who has really underperformed over the last several years, really since the Rattler era, you have seen really up and down seasons from South Carolina, and there's not a ton of explanation for it. The biggest thing as a fan when you're watching South Carolina play is giving up these huge leads, giving up these what would be marquee wins in very, very crucial mistake scenarios. Going into this next year, obviously you still have Lenore Sellers and you do have some power in the backfield, but their schedule doesn't do them any favors. Now, the second that South Carolina goes into conference play, it's really just bad news for them. Starting off Alabama, then you get Kentucky, you get Florida, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Arkansas, and then you play Georgia to finish off your conference play. It's not really looking very promising for South Carolina. Even that last game against Clemson, that has been a marquee game, a very good rival game, is not looking like a walk in the park for Shane Beamer and that South Carolina football team. When you have a team that gave up 28 points to Texas A&M on the road going into the second half, what's to say that about your program? Okay, let's just think about it. That doesn't happen. Within the SEC, we're also going to talk about Kalen DeBoer and the Alabama Crimson Tide. I have talked ad nauseum about Alabama and their direction of where they're going and how their offense has been playing and how they need to adapt to more of a trench style run game. But, Ryan Grubb and that Alabama offense, hopefully going in a new direction going into this year. Now, arguably, Kalen DeBoer took the hardest job in college football. He took replacing Nick Saban at Alabama. Now, it's not, hey, we got 10 wins, we're good. Hey, we got 9-3, we're looking pretty solid. The expectations of Alabama and continuing the legacy that they have built is predicated upon championships and winning championships. Not just being in the championship games, but winning those championships. Even though they went to the playoffs last year and they won a playoff game on the road, no less, to Oklahoma, people are still calling for DeBoer's head because of their underperformance at the Rose Bowl against Indiana. Am I going to say that this is Kalen DeBoer's last year? No. I think he could go 9-3 and be safe, which is crazy to think that there are some coaches out there who would love 9-3, but they still have a job. So, yeah. I will have to say that the direction that this Alabama team is going with, whether it is Austin Mack, whether it is Keelan Russell, that will inevitably decide how this team functions and Kalen DeBoer's job security, if you will. I don't think that Alabama would punish him for having a subpar season. Their schedule is also quite difficult, but there are some trap games in their schedule, like Texas A&M at home. Even though historically they've beaten Texas A&M several times, it's not a game that's going to be good, especially when you have a quarterback, Heisman caliber, like Marcel Reed, slinging for Texas A&M. It's never going to be an easy game, especially knowing that you gave up home games in the past. Oklahoma, you got Georgia at home, but that's not something that is a gimme. Alabama fans like to be so spoiled and say, oh, we beat Georgia every year. Well, this Georgia's got a really great quarterback, really great offense, and historically one of the best run games in the SEC. So for Alabama fans to be so confident about that just because of the rivalry, I get it. Okay, I understand it, but this is 2026. We have to look at schematics. We have to look at mathematics. We have to look at all these factors that make a team a team. Kalen DeBoer is in the hot seat. I don't know. You decide. Lincoln Riley is no stranger to the college football playoff. He made the college football playoff when it was a 4-team era with Oklahoma. Now with USC's schedule, it doesn't do them any favors. Playing Oregon, playing Indiana, playing Ohio State. This is a schedule that argues for a 3-loss team to be in the expanded football playoff, and I don't mind it. When you look at their schedule as a whole, they do have some games that could be tricky. UCLA as a rival game, Penn State, Who knows what Matt Campbell's got cooking up over there? And then they're in conference games like Washington, Rutgers. They're not wash off games. They're games that, they have to really prepare for. On top of those games where teams are in the top three, respectively in their conference. I'm going to reiterate this many, many times because it is something that is just so true and I feel so personally about is the schedule is everything when it comes to, hey, is a coach in the hot seat or not? If they're playing top 10 teams all year long, you can give them a little bit of a break. You can pump the brakes a little bit. And with USC, I feel the same way. So I don't think Lincoln Riley's too hot right now, but he is in a position where he needs to perform and showcase skill, talent, and execution on all levels and all sides of the football. Moving on out of the Big Ten, we are going to the ACC where we are going to talk about two teams in particular. First one, we're going to talk about Clemson, Dabo Swinney. This is a team that is so highly rated preseason, and they just underperform all across the board. And Clemson was able to make it into the college football playoff with the auto bid structure back in 2024. But now that auto bid structure is vanished, it's going to be a lot harder for Clemson and that program to find themselves in a position to be in the college football playoff. And the way that this team has been trending, it just doesn't look great, and it doesn't look great for the fans. The fans are not happy with Dabo. They are ready to go a different direction. I mean, they hadn't really seen a national championship contention in the past 8 years, And I think the first game of the season, LSU playing Clemson, is going to be a really big testament for how this program is going to develop over the course of the season. I mean, starting off your year with arguably the hardest game that's an out-of-conference game says a lot about how your program is going to develop. And their in-conference play is fairly manageable with the exceptions of, playing Miami, playing Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, Duke, and then finishing off with South Carolina out of conference. But I think that Clemson's schedule is very, very manageable, and they could find themselves in a position to be in contention for an ACC title yet again to further the longevity of Dabo Swinney. But again, it really comes down to how they perform out of the gate, how they perform against those teams that they're expected to win. I would say watch that UNC game. Watch how two struggling coaches in the ACC, Bill Belichick and Dabo Swinney, both perform under pressure, and how that'll set up both of their years down the line. And last but not least, certainly not least, we're going to talk about our number one hot seat coach today, and that is our friends at Florida State, Mike Norvell. If you watch college football, I do not need to elaborate to you how bad this program has been in the last several years. To put it in reference, it snowed in Florida a couple years ago. There was more inches of snow on the ground than there were winds at the Florida State, in Florida State. They were 2-10. There was 3 inches of snow. Just to put in retrospect. And taking a glimpse at Florida's schedule, their in-conference play is not easy. And their out-of-conference play is also not easy. I mean, you have Alabama on the road week 3. You finish it off against Florida. And let's talk about their in-conference play. I mean, you got to play Virginia, a game that was highly, highly watched last year. I mean, I remember that Tommy Castellano's pick in the end zone with the field rush that almost killed Squirrel White. That was one of the craziest games I've ever seen. And it just led to the inevitable downfall of Florida State's hot start to the season. Then you got to go play Louisville. Then you got to play Miami. Then you play Clemson. That's 4 back-to-back games that are not cakewalk games, very hard in-conference games for Florida State, respectively. And then you got to play Boston College, another team that gave you a ton of problems. And then you got to play Pitt, and then you got to play NC State. I mean, that conference play for Florida State does not do them any favors. It does not give them a schedule that is reminiscent of a 8+ win season, which right now, if you're a Florida State fan, you're like, 8 wins sounds freaking incredible. A bowl game would be awesome, but I don't see that happening. It's just, the schedule is just not there. I mean, you play Central Arkansas after Alabama, and that's really it. Even this game opening up the season to New Mexico State, it's another game where you're like, hey, Let's see where this program takes us. I mean, I can't say that that's also a cakewalk game. I mean, New Mexico State, they upset, Auburn, obviously, but Diego Pavia, but I digress. I think Mike Norvell, this is going to be his determining year. Okay, if you see a drastic improvement from last year, I think he's safe. But again, all that comes out with watching the tape coming out of the gate. I mean, that New Mexico State game is going to be the setup for Florida State in the rest of the year. Because, they could blow them out by 80 and then they could lose to SMU by 24. I don't know. So, again, hot seat, not hot seat, who knows? But that is going to be it for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait for the start of this new season coming up very, very soon. And we are going to do some more coverage on that as the weeks progress. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.